Listen, so today we're talking about the 1990 hit film Hard to Kill, starring Steven Seagal. Now, this movie is very cheesy, it's very dumb, and it would not get made today. But it was in the top 30, I believe more specifically in the top 20 highest earning films that year. It's very cheesy, like I said. Um, so it starts out set in 1983. 1983. Yes, 7 years before the actual film was made. Steven Seagal is a cop, and he's doing undercover work, investigating the Bandino family, the crime syndicate, and he does not know who they are, but he gets them on recording, fucks up, and pretty much tells them his location. Now, he thinks that he doesn't know who's in on it, but he goes ahead and uses a regular line to call the police, and the dirty cops hear it, which proceeds to then leading to the death of his partner and his ex-wife. And before that, there's a little fight in a grocery store where the most ethnically weird gang runs in. The leader is a freaking Mexican with a double-barrel shotgun. The, other guys behind him, one looks like a math teacher, one looks like a biker, one looks like a skinhead, and they all get wasted after they kill the clerk. Steven Seagal walks up to him and says, well, there's 4 of you, and you only got 1 shot left, and then they miss, and he goes to breaking some arms, clotheslining a dude into alcohol. Then the last dude is left standing, and he pretty much, Seagal has some humor in this movie, unlike his later movies where he will not have any humor hardly. He says, oh, I get it. Mine's bigger. It's not fair. Because he's holding a double-barrel shotgun and the guy has like a pocket knife out. Or, a switchblade. And he says, come and get some. And he's down on his knees now because the dude is short. Seagal's like, 6'5". And the dude runs at him. Seagal catches his leg and breaks his fucking foot, twists it backwards like a pretzel. So anyway, they go back to his house. He tucks his kid in and gives a weird, speech. Then we have him and his wife making out, and then get a little nip slip. You get to see her full titties. It's not just a nip slip. Then the bad guys come in and shoot him, and then he's so overpowered that he says motherfuckers, runs up to them and grabs one guy, puts him in an Aikido wrist lock, and then proceeds to kick him 3 times, twice in the gut and once in the chest, and then he gets shot with another shotgun blast, stumbles back against the bed and gets shot again, and is on the wall screaming, going, no! And after his wife gets shot by a shotgun, and then the bad guy walks up and shoots him again. This is just the first 10 minutes of the movie, guys. If that. Then he wakes up in a coma. Kelly LeBrock, his then wife, who's super fucking hot, has apparently got this guy nicknames. She calls him JD because he's a John Doe, because they don't know his name and they want to keep it secret. Anyway, she says one of the most seductive things ever. She goes, hey JD, do you want a little pussy? And she brings out a kitten. That's a fucking, yeah. Anyway, after she says that, and then admires the package and tells him to please wake up, he proceeds to wake up less than 30 seconds later. They don't realize the cops are dirty, the nurses and staff, and so they call the number that was left for him. Dirty cop comes to finish him off because he's, not able to move, and he's using a stick. They kill a security guard, and then he kills the massage therapist by shooting him in the left side and the bullet going into the right. And then a stupid, dumb, cheesy, over the top chase scene happens where Seagal is in an elevator hitting it. Kelly LeBrock shows up and they start pushing him, and you can see he's not paralyzed because he's moving his legs when they're slamming into shit, and it's just bad. It's very bad. Then they get back to the house. You know, a couple days go by. He's now being able to just walk with a cane. And then, you know, he starts training, putting acupunctures in his chest and in his back. And I was shocked. I've never thought Steven Seagal had a shirt off in a movie, because I always thought he was seen as the fat guy. No, Hard to Kill. He had his shirt off and he looked decently ripped. I mean, he wasn't in good shape, but he wasn't in bad shape either. So he's got all of his needles in him, and he's doing ancient healing practices of Japanese culture and Chinese, and then he's doing karate and aikido slaps and blocks, and then he's using the bow staff to get some kind of fruit out of a tree. Then he's running, and he puts up a makiwara, a homemade makiwara, and punches it, and then punches it out of the ground after his training's complete, and he runs up a hill to synthesizer music and poses. Then he bangs Kelly LeBrock. She goes out looking for a friend, finds out her friend has been killed, which the bad guys tailed her and follow her back to the house, and a dope-ass fight scene happens. The most unstealthy people ever. A guy with an M16 shows up to a sliding door. Steven Seagal throws like a shotgun back in this dude's face and pretty much pushes him over, blasts the dude through the window, sends him back out through it. Then he shoots another dude with it, and then he gets his handgun out, and they're crawling underneath this thing, and there's guys with M16 shooting at him, and then they jam, so he shoots them. Then he gets in this hand-to-hand fight with a dude, kicks him, like blocks a punch with a kick, and then snaps the dude's shoulder out of his socket and throws him over a thing, throws him over the ledge, and he lands on a table. And then the next dude comes. He had plenty of time to kill Steven Seagal. It's one of the worst choreographed moments in the movie, but then it becomes one of the best choreographed moments in the movie, because Steven Seagal, pretty much sweeps the dude. He kicks him in the leg, then sweeps him, and then the dude runs at him with a knife. Steven Seagal catches it, disarms him, and then breaks his arm, like we're used to seeing in old classic Steven Seagal movies, and throws him into a glass, a thing holding glass, like, artifacts. And then he goes downstairs with Kelly. They start getting shot at again, so he throws a grenade and blows a guy up. Then they steal a Jeep, get out of there. One of the weirdest scenes in the movie happens, which is a car exchange. He says, hey, I forgot what he says. And then he says, do you like my Coche? And the guy goes, yeah, how hot is it? And he goes, smoking. And they just trade cars off. So now they're driving like an 81 Camaro or something. And they go back to his old house, and magically the videotape that he took at the beginning of the movie is still there after 7 years in the ice machine. And now he realizes it goes all the way to the top, and he needs to get out of there. So he's met with his partner, and they're gonna have his son and him get on a train and get out of Chicago. I think that's where this is all taking place. And we cut to Steven Seagal and Kelly LeBrock getting ambushed at a motel, because they were supposed to meet them there, but they already headed to the train station. So his partner and Steven Seagal's son, and yeah, he front kicks a guy through glass, runs funny with Kelly, and they steal I'd like to say it was probably like an '88 Corvette, something like that, and maybe an probably an '88 Corvette, cherry red, and they have a cool chase scene. Then he ends up doing one of the backing up and turning, and he hits the back, tears the back of the Corvette up, but he catches up to his son, who he sees is now being chased by guys after O'Malley got killed, Steven Seagal's partner. And Steven Seagal runs, and it's funny. It's funny to watch, it's funny to see. But you realize when he catches up to dudes, you don't want to be those dudes, because he's still intimidating and he looks like he knows how to fight. So the first dude says, "Oh, motherfucker," and then Steven Seagal catches his leg and kicks it out, like kicks the dude right in the knee, and then picks him up and throws him in a dumpster. And then he's chasing the other dude. This dude is you've seen in tons of movie. I can't remember his name right off the Brandstrom. I can't remember his last name. But he's a Native American stuntman, and you've probably seen him in Renegade and other stuff. Like, he's just been in tons of stuff. Like, he was in small bits in movies. You'd recognize him. Anyway, he gets caught up. He says, "Fuck you, I can take you," and he lands like 2 punches and then just gets waylasted. He gets leg kicked. He gets kicked in the gut. He gets judo chopped and karate chopped in the neck twice and thrown through shit. Then Steven Seagal catches his wrist like he did at the beginning of the movie and says, "I remember you," and then puts a leaning back rear naked choke in and breaks the guy's neck. And then we get to Steven Seagal telling his son to stay with Kelly LeBrock. If I was that boy, I definitely would. And we get to the final pretty much thing. He goes to the governor's mansion. Governor's mansion. And he takes out all the guys that were involved, the rest of the guys that were involved in his wife's murder, the little Asian dude and the guy who did not get Skull killed at the beginning of the movie in the hospital. He comes in and says, "Oh, I can't play, this isn't fair." And so he puts his handgun away and says, "Come get some," again, and catches a pool cue from the first guy, hits another guy running, and then this little Asian dude gets his broken and he starts swinging him, and Steven Seagal hits him in the head. And then we get face to face with the guy who shot his ex-wife with a shotgun, and he says, "Impressive, but he's got a knife behind his back." Steven Seagal saw it, so he catches the knife in one arm and stabs the dude in the neck with a pool cue. And the dude goes all the way down to his knees, and Steven Seagal front kicks him in the fucking face and says, "Fuck you, that's for killing my wife." And and then he plays mind games with the corrupt DEA agent or FBI agent. I never understood what he was in the movie. And pretty much slaps him around like a bitch and slaps him in the face a couple of times and makes him piss himself. And then he says, "Now you're a good cop." And he takes his gun. He goes upstairs looking for the corrupt governor, and he finds him in a closet after having one of the weirdest games of hide and go seek. And it's not very big of a fight. He shoves a shotgun in his mouth, and then he proceeds to move a double barrel shotgun sawed off down to the guy's balls, and shoots the ground and says, "Damn, I missed. I never miss." They must have been smaller than I thought. And then he knees him right in the fucking dick. And the cops show up, and just as he's about to kill this dude, they say, "Hey, man, we saw the tape." And then that's how the movie ends. He walks off with his wife, and I mean, not his real life wife, Kelly LeBrock, and his son. And 80s music starts playing, and it's super cheesy. And is it good? If you like late 80s action movies, it's good. I mean, it still holds up in the action category. The acting, it's not bad, but it's extremely cheesy. And I mean extremely cheesy.